and I quit to go become a father, to get married, and that meant quitting music. So I didn't do anything other than sit at home and watch my sons grow up a little and watch them be born, and went through the struggle of being married and being, you know, all of a sudden now there's one girl, you know what I mean, and that's your girl, and that's all that's there, and I ain't, you know, really known for that, you know, and she was there and she was good, but I just ain't no good as a husband, you know. I wasn't a good husband to her, but really experiencing caring about somebody more than you care about yourself was the best thing about it. Is the best thing about being a father. So it was all of a sudden like my purpose and my goals and my intensity changed towards like looking at my sons and saying, I love the shit out of them. There's nothing I love more than those two little boys, you know. And then coincidentally, all of a sudden my writing changed. My writing lyrics changed, and what I wanted to write about became a lot more important and prevalent. So love songs, whatever, man, it comes and goes, you know. But for me, like, they ain't never going nowhere. Those are going to be my sons. And, you know, Lord willing, I die before them, and they see their father go. But they know that what I did was just spend my whole life loving them, you know. So that started presenting itself in my music. So my last record, Blood and Dust, is about that. And the song Blood and Dust is about being a kid with my own father, and I championed my father. I thought my father was the greatest man in the world. And correlating all the fucked up shit that he did, but still loving him, and then making sure that in my own fatherhood, I didn't do the same thing. You know, I took what was cool about him, and charming and good, and, you know, what makes him one of the most interesting men you'll ever meet, that, you know, and like put that on my sons. And so that song itself is just about the whole generational thing, where it's like, you know, blood to dust. And the first song I wrote on that last record was I Will Tell, which is one of your favorites.
Oh,
right. And that song was just about, like, that song was just about my oldest son being born, and I just essentially took the story in my head, a really quick version of it, like almost, you know, one of those 30-second snapshot movies about, like, here's this young man, he meets a young girl, he gives her a ring, you know, and they have marriage, and then they have a little boy, and he grows up, and then the old man dies, and, you know, hey man, that's what happens. But that's, you know, so every song just has this thing on that record that's just about being in that situation of marriage and fatherhood and husbandry and whatnot, you know. And and it was so personal, so very personal to me, because I was sitting at home working like an 8-9 hour job. I mean, back-breaking work. And then I come home and I'd sit on my piano, and my son would be there like on the bench with me, and I'd be writing a song about him or whatever I had. All those songs were just about that. So it was a very, very important, like, it's a very, very important record to me. And now, having gone through the divorce, and, you know, her and I are best friends and always will be best friends, but having gone through that, but still being a father, there's a different take on it. But there's no way I'm ever going to return back to what my writing used to be, because it don't seem that important anymore. You know what I mean? Meet a pretty girl and want to write a song about her? Fuck that, man. You know what I mean? This world is full of pretty women. You know what I mean? I only got 2 sons, though. You know what I mean? I only got one kind of fatherhood I can bring to the world. There's a song on the new record called Iron Shoes that's about like an old bum I saw in downtown LA, old Asian lady I saw in the market. It's still like trying to see it through the eyes of a child, trying to see it through, you know, the way that they would interpret something. It's just a different look on life, man, that I didn't have, because I was very inward and narcissistic, and I am to a degree still, but in taking a bigger, like, vantage, a bigger view of the world, and being able to sit there and just say, where's that person been? Like, where are they coming from? What happened to them today? Why does the look on their face? Because it's what it is. You got to look somebody in the eyes and be able to recognize this is where, you know, this person had a fucked up day. and you know, reaching out and touching somebody on the shoulder to say how you doing, you know what I mean, is very important, as opposed to like me, you know, 12 years ago, where I was like sunglasses on, fuck you, I'm the greatest motherfucker in the world, you know. It's young man, it's a youthful thing, you know. It's youthful pride, you know. So, anyways.
Are your sons musically active? If you ever
They are. Yeah, they are musically active. My oldest son plays a clarinet. My youngest son has just got rhythm in his soul, right? That's just who he is. And he's always been that way. I mean, all little kids respond to music. All little kids dance around, like, you know, recklessly. They just sit there and close their eyes and don't dance around. The way that I think some adults should actually be, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. But my oldest son, him and I, when me and my ex-wife got separated, my thing was with them, we started going to Disneyland once a month. We bought those annual passes. And we go, so I made this huge playlist of music that I loved when I was a little boy. Songs that I feel like are not there in what children listen to anymore. The old American songs, the old American folk songs, the old American, you know, road songs, things that moved me and made me love music. So I made this huge playlist. I spent hours on this fucking thing, man. Hours. I put it on my fucking, you know, on my iPod. And so we started playing it every time we drive to Disneyland and back and whatnot. And their love for music just grew. It's just a natural thing. Kind of like if you nurture a child with reading a book to them every day, their love for reading just is there. They want to go explore a world on their own through a book, right? Same thing with music. So my oldest son is about football, and he's about, you know, studying, and he's about a lot of things. And who knows if he'll actually continue on in music, but it's not something I really push. And I don't push it for two reasons. Number one is I don't push it because I'm their father. You know what I mean? You never want to have to, like, well, can you outdo your dad? You know what I mean? That's not important to me, man, you know? I just want them to be happy. But number two, it's one of those things that music should just be appreciated in a way that's real and respectful. It doesn't need to be something that's like, look, because I do what I do, you need to do the same thing because you're my son, you know what I mean? And I just see that I see that in a lot of situations with parents. It's bullshit, you know? So, but my little boy, true to his nature, does everything on his own time, you know? So he's just sitting in the back right behind me in my car, and I listen to him, I know what he's doing. I'm sitting back there, he'll just start singing he'll sing the hook of a song, right? You don't know he's singing it, but I know the hook. I know what's actually important in the song, so I know that he gets that. That's the thing. People will sit there in a car and listen to a song over and over that they just love, right? And they'll sing the same thing every time. And they don't recognize it, but that's what the song's about. Mm-hmm. It's mathematics. It's a hook. It's what happens every time you hear it, so you got to make it happen, right? So that's what he does, and that's innate in him. That's just a natural thing for Tate, you know? And so I love that. But it's not when I'll just like kind of like guide him along a little bit. I ain't going to like push it, you know? We'll see. That kid can do anything he wants as far as I'm concerned, you know?
That's awesome. There is something that I remember when I first met you, and I asked you why is music so important to you. And there's something that you said that exactly how I feel is that music, we all have an appreciation for music no matter where we are.
Right.
And can you elaborate on how you feel about why music is important for society and pretty much unifying?
Here's the thing. Music to me is something that just transcends peoples and races and creeds and religion and whatnot. It's one of those things that we all have in common, no matter who you are, you know? And it's so good. And that's the best thing about it. I don't play music to get adulation from people. I play music because it's who I am. It's what I got. It's what I got to offer people, man, you know? But I fully anticipate people at some point discovering, hey, listen, you know what? Let's figure out, it's not a communist thing, it's not a socialist thing, because I ain't neither one of those things, but it's one of those like natural feelings that we have. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel sad. It makes you feel joy or peace or anger or whatever it is, man. But we all have emotion. That's the thing. Human beings all have these emotions that if it's not available to get them out, it ruins societies. It ruins people's, man. And maybe a month ago, I sat in a clarinet lesson with my oldest son, and I watched him just sitting there and taking the lesson from his teacher, from this guy who was teaching him clarinet. And I watched it, and I recognized something, and I remembered why it was so important that music being out of schools in America was such a travesty, was such a tragedy. It's something that's really, really, really wrecking our fucking society, man, you know? And so I sat there and I was like, it's so important that it happens. Music's all math. The basis of music is math, and it's the ability to read, and the ability to understand and like discern and ascertain things and whatnot, right? It's all the things that people study that they put an emphasis on, all in just music, just taking a simple music lesson, right? So I go to my father's house, right? And my father and I don't see eye to eye on anything politically, right?
Yeah.
Anything whatsoever. We don't see eye to eye on just about anything. But I go in there to my father's house and I tell him about this experience, right? And I was like, it's such a shame that music is getting kicked out of school. And the first time in my life I've ever agreed with my father, I didn't have to do shit about it. I had to explain it. He was like, he turned around and he was like, you know what, you're right, right? You're right. You're right that music is disappearing because even he gets it. And that's the great thing about it. It's a huge binder of people in the most like detrimental situations, like me and my father, who have never seen eye to eye on anything, right? We can agree on music. It's crazy. And that's crazy shit, man. And I, like, for the life of me, walked out of there. I was more blown away by that than anything else. It was that one of those things that my father and I agreed on the fact that music is so vastly important to people. And it's important to carry, like, people along, you know? So, I mean, but I could sit here and talk to you for hours on why it's important, you know?
I agree with you on how
Yeah.
it's important.